Hi guys, how you doing? This is Ben, the Real Estate Pro, coming at you. Hopefully, going to kick you some knowledge. It's been a while since I've done a video. I've been busy. I've got a couple listings that I'm working on. I've got some loan files that I'm working on. So I'm very grateful. But I wanted to get back to you guys and put out another video because we've had a couple of things that happened in the last few days that I think are really important. Right now, you're looking at a Housing Wire article. It says Judge grants preliminary approval of NAR Commission lawsuit settlement. Final approval hearing of NAR's commission lawsuit settlement has been set for November 2024. Now let's go ahead and read a little bit of this. The National Association of Realtors can breathe a small sigh of relief. The trade group's nationwide settlement of the commission lawsuits has passed its first hurdle as Judge Stephen Bowe, who oversaw the Sitzer Burnett lawsuit, granted preliminary approval to NAR's settlement on Tuesday. And it's largely been thought by a legal expert that he was probably going to go ahead and accept it anyway. While the agreement still must receive final approval from the court, the industry is now one step closer to operating under the new rules outlined in the settlement agreement. According to NAR, the new rules would go into place in July of this year. In his ruling, Bowe called the proposed changes fair, reasonable, and adequate. Under the terms of the settlement agreement, NAR will pay $418 million to a settlement fund over the course of 4 years, and the trade group is barred from establishing any sort of rules that would allow a seller's agent to set compensation for a buyer's agent. Additionally, all fields displaying broker compensation on MLSs must be eliminated, and there is a blanket ban on the requirement that agents subscribe to MLSs in the first place in order to offer or accept compensation for their work. The settlement agreement also mandates that MLS participants working with buyers must enter into a written buyer-broker agreement. A final approval hearing for the settlement has been set for November 2024. The court will hold a final approval hearing for the settlement agreements reached by Anywhere, RE/MAX, and Keller Williams in May of 2024. That's next month. I think the most important part of this article is the part where it says the settlement agreement also mandates that MLS participants working with buyers must enter into a written buyer-broker agreement. And I think this is the part I think a lot of people are missing, or they're overlooking, or they're not paying enough attention. Okay. Now I have one here. This is the Buyer's Representation and Broker Compensation Agreement for California. This is a CAR form, or California Associated Realtor form. This is the current form, and it's not really a good example to look at per se because the changes haven't been implemented. But I wanted to just go ahead and show you guys an example. But what's important in that settlement agreement is that buyers and buyers agents will have to enter into an agreement even before that agent can show them one property. Okay? The reason why that's significant, and I've said this in other videos, is we've never had to do that before. We've never had to have a conversation about compensation with buyers previous to all this. And I know in some states this form is very common to be signed, but in the states that I operate in, which is Arizona and California, I don't think I've ever signed one. I mean, it's just buyer's agency is just something that's kind of implied because you're obviously showing people houses, and then the purchase contract, essentially is the most important document that we want to get in. But I know there's some of you in other states. I know you kind of look at that sideways, like how could you guys operate that way? But that's just the case, okay? But now we're going to have to. No matter what state you're in, you're going to have to sit down with your buyer even before you open one door and say, hey, you have to compensate me this much, or you have to discuss the terms of how you are being compensated, okay? And I think from a standpoint of a buyer's agent, I think that is significant because me as a buyer, I'm going to speak as a buyer, not as an agent, even though I am one. I'll be honest with you, I don't know that I want to sign one of these until I actually find a house that I want to buy. And let me go ahead and explain that, because you may say, well, how are you going to go look at properties, if you don't have a buyer's agent that can show you the properties? Well, it's just simple. You just contact the listing agent, okay? You look on the advertisement wherever you may see it. The listing agent's information will be there. You just simply call them and say, hey, I would like to take a look at the property. When I contact the listing agent, say, look, I don't have an agent at the moment. I may go ahead and get representation later on, but I would like to look at the house first. So I'd go ahead, look at the house. I wouldn't be in any type of agreement that locks me in to that one particular agent. And what happens if they're a bad agent or they don't listen to you or maybe it's just not a good fit? But at that point, then I can decide if I like the house and I want to hire an agent to write an offer, I can contact one at that point and say, hey, look, I need to put in an offer on this particular property. Can you go ahead and write the offer for me? Okay, and that way I can work with that particular buyer's agent specifically for that particular property. It doesn't lock me in to working with that agent from that point on. Although I'm sure the agent, and I'll admit, I'm certainly going to try to at least work with you a little bit more than just that one particular property because, your offer may not get accepted, but at least you're not beholden or entrapped, let's just say, to one agent. And here's what I mean by that is these buyer's representation and broker compensation agreements um, have can have certain areas that may lock you into paying that buyer's agent. So let me just give you a scenario. Let's just say that you sign an agreement that says that you are working with this particular agent and you agree to pay them a particular commission for any property in a particular county or a particular city or a particular area. And let's just say that you're going to pay them a certain amount. Okay? And let's say that agreement is for 180 days. What that means is even if you decide you don't want to use that agent anymore, and let's say you find the house completely on your own. You just happen to be driving by and there was an open house and you walk in and go, wow, this is a house that I want. Okay? And maybe at that point you might want to work with another agent or whatnot. You can't because you signed an agreement that said that you would work with that agent, and not only that, that you would compensate them a certain amount, even if they're the ones that didn't find the property. I know that sounds strange to a lot of you, especially if you're thinking, well, wait a minute. He didn't help me buy the property, or she didn't help me or find the property. Why should I pay them? Well, because the buyer's representation and broker compensation agreement you signed with them dictates that you owe them. So theoretically, it's possible, like I said, for you to find your own property, put in an offer, go into escrow, and then all of a sudden, a buyer's representation and broker compensation agreement from your old agent comes in. And now it says that you have to pay them umpty ump amount of money, whatever you agree to in order to be able to close on your home. That's a possibility. So do you really want to, or would I, as a buyer, would I really want to commit to a person right off? Maybe not. Maybe I might want to hold off on that, or I may want to dictate the terms of the agreement that are a little more favorable to me, the buyer. Maybe I might want to go say, okay, yeah, we'll do this, but we're going to do it for 30 days. After 30 days, I can do whatever I want. Okay? And my point is simply for buyers out there is to think about what you're signing. Okay? Even though I know these days you can get documents via DocuSign. I've had 40-page documents sent to people, and I sent it to them, and in less than a minute, it's sent back to me. Like I said, via DocuSign. Because all they got to do is open it up and click, 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 and they're done. They didn't actually read any of it. Now, I always let them know what they're looking at, what the important parts of it, and I encourage them to look at it and read it. And I also encourage them to seek legal counsel if they so choose. But in most cases, a lot of times we just, and I'll admit, I've done it myself. You just click, 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 because you just want to get it done and over with. You may not want to do that if you're signing a buyer's broker or buyer representation and broker compensation agreement, okay? Because some of the terms could be very draconian. And I'll probably talk about this in another video. Listing agreements may be, there are different types, and your agent is going to want you to sign a specific type of listing agreement that basically locks them into getting a commission no matter what. Well, I'm going to say buyer's representation and broker compensation agreements are going to be the same. So, like they say, buyer beware. All right, guys. Hopefully you get something out of this. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to give me a call. My email will be in the description if you feel like you want to. Even if you're not in the state that I'm in, I can certainly talk to you as a friend, as a buddy, and just kind of let you know, hey, maybe these are the agents that you can talk to in your area that can help you. But I certainly like to increase my network and get to know people out there. But anyways, guys, this has been the Real Estate Pro. We'll talk to you next time.